All right, welcome everybody to the debut episode of Never Rest Farm, or whatever I decide to call this channel. I have no idea. We got a small job ahead of us today, just gonna turn into a little bit bigger job. So, long story short, I enjoy watching, people fixing things, machinery, that sort of thing on YouTube. And I do a lot of repairs on my own equipment, that sort of thing. And why not make a YouTube video about it? So, backstory on this little bit of project. I have a 2017 Mahindra 3550 cab tractor. And about a week and a half ago, I noticed there was a seal leaking in the final drive on the front axle. So I went to Mahindra, I got the parts needed, and replaced the seal in the final drive, put everything back together. And by nature, I like my stuff looking good, so I put a couple of coats of paint on the hub and repainted the rims or wheels, just because they had some scratches, scuffs, and a little bit of surface rust coming up in the welds. Cleaned that all up with a wire wheel and repainted, and it was looking good. Put the wheel back on, torqued everything back down, and it crossed my mind that paint might be an issue, but I didn't think a whole lot of it. I went on about my business, cleaning up, doing the work I needed to do, and about 8 hours in, wheel passed me up. So got off the tractor, no damage to the tractor, but the rim holes, the lug holes wallered out. So on the search for a new rim, and it's kind of being an issue at the moment. We'll circle back to that. I don't know if we'll get to that in this episode, but so headed to the farm now. Gonna try to get the old wheel back on after securing some lug nuts from the dealer. Obviously the ones I had are scattered throughout creation. And I'll try to get this thing at least on the trailer, get it back to where we can work on it. And that's going to be the plan for today. So stick with me. We're headed to the woods now, and I'll bring you back when we get to the tractor. All right, where we're headed is back here on the edge of this crop field in a food plot. We were disking, and it looks pretty dry back here. I know we got a little rain since I was here, but I don't think it's gonna be too soft. This heavy diesel truck, but we got full drive. I'm not expecting, I know where I disc, that dirt's soft, but I'm not expecting to have any getting stuck issues. I do want to get this thing loaded on a trailer. Trailer's about a mile from here. Plan is to get this wheel back on the tractor and then run up and go get the gooseneck trailer, park as close as I can get to this food plot, and drive the tractor on the trailer and hightail out of here. So, hoping everything goes to plan and we don't have any hiccups, because if you own anything or work on your own stuff, or you already know, if it can go wrong, it will go wrong. It'll be more difficult than it needs to be. There the poor girl sits. Three-legged dog. All right, I'll get the camera set up and wheel to kind of discuss what we're going to do. All right, well, this is the scene of the crash. So the plan is, this final drive here, I took all those bolts out. This whole hub comes out as one piece. I had to replace a seal in there with the hub, this flange right here where the wheel bolt's on. There's a seal in there that was leaking, tripping a little oil out of the bottom here. And not wanting to forget about it or worry about it or whatever, I decided to go ahead and change that seal. Fun job within itself. I learned a lot, never done it before, but wouldn't hesitate to do it again. It wasn't very difficult. But in the process, you can see I put a couple of layers of paint on here, and I think the error was that paint softened up and it allowed the torque I'd put on those lug bolts to loosen up a little bit. And if you look at the manual, it's, you know, check them every so many hours. Well, we weren't even close to that. I was maybe 6-8 hours in using this and never crossed my mind to check them again. I mean, partially my mistake, I guess. I don't know. But I don't see a whole lot of damage on these screw holes. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna run a little chamfer bit, just kind of clean up the fronts. I got a tap. We're gonna chase these threads, make sure everything's cleaned up before we try to put a wheel back on it. Got some brand new lug bolts. We're gonna torque everything down. But we're literally just trying to get this back on the trailer so we can get it to a place where we can actually do some work. So let's get set up and get started doing that. I'll show you the damage to the wheel. And get it to focus here. Man, every single one of these holes is egg-shaped. And I guess you can kind of tell which ones came out in which order, because some of them are a little worse than others. So, looking at this, I mean, I don't know if it's repairable. I have a plan in mind to repair it if I do that. But trying to find a wheel has been a little difficult. I did finally get in touch with Mahindra Corporate. They do have one. It's quite spendy. Unfortunately, that may be the way I have to go. All right, so plan is get the wheel back on, get this machine on the trailer, and then we'll continue on this episode after we've done that. I'm gonna use the loader to lift the tractor, get the wheel on, and try to get this machine out of the woods where we can get it back to the shop and actually do some work on it. So stick with me. It's not gonna be super interesting, but it's the start of the story. So if you'd like to follow along, this is the beginning. So this is a chamfer bit. If you see, I think it's at a 90 or 60 degree angle. Anyway, we're gonna clean up the entrance to that, to where those threads go. And that'll make our tap start straight and everything else kind of line up. So, touch these off real quick, and then we'll run the tap through. And we're not trying to take off any metal, we're just cleaning off any rough edges. And that's pretty much it for that. Now, I want to show y'all guys this tap and die set I got from Gear Wrench. It's a 114 piece set. And, you know, there's a lot of companies out there making tap and die sets. But man, what really turned me on to this one is these ratcheting handles. You can get in a really tight spot with these. They got really comfortable handles instead of just a little bar. And you screw your taps in to these collets, and then these just click in to your handles. It's a quick connect, in and out. Superb system, man. It's really well made. Oh, look, they even got a ease out set in there. I didn't even notice that. Oh, it comes with your thread checkers too. Awesome. But I've gotten a little bit of use out of this thing since I bought it. But man, am I super impressed with this. It was a little spendy. I think they're about 250 bucks. I caught them on Amazon when they were about 180. I said, give it to me. And I'm really impressed with this set. Unfortunately, it did not have the tap I needed. It does have some metric 14, but it has the 1.25 and the 2.0, and I needed a 1.5 thread pitch. So I was able to acquire one of those, but we'll still be using this same kit to get everything started. This really makes it easy to keep your taps straight, because you're not having to spin your hand all the way around and change the angle of your tap as it's going in. You can hold this straight, turn a little bit at a time, get it started, and much better system, man. Spend a little more money and do a better job on things. Now this is a shallow hole. Pretty much when you get through this hub, it's about as thick as you can see here. You know, probably, I don't know, a little over 1/4 inch, 5/8, not 5/8. That's it, it's bottomed out. So we'll change direction and we'll come back out. Those threads are cleaned up pretty good. I'll continue to do this all the way around. think this one here is about the worst one. You can tell it lost about 1/4 inch of threads at the very beginning here, and they still seem to start straight and follow through pretty good, so I'm hoping it holds. Worst case scenario, I'll have to change out this flange, which would mean removing this hub again and disassembling it, and it's turning out to be a costly repair if not. We'll keep an eye on it. As we get further in the video, I'm gonna kind of share my ideas for if I have to repair this rim, if I can't get another one. We'll discuss that process and how we may do like a lock on these hubs, on these lug nuts, so they can't come out. But this should clean us up enough. We can get the lug bolts started, get the wheel back on, and try to get this thing out of here. Test fit these and make sure there's no issues. Great. Started right in. Perfect. Same with that one. Excellent. Now, I don't know about most people. I don't know if they would have came behind and tried to chase the threads on these and clean this up before they tried to stab this wheel back on. But certainly going to make this job a lot easier. And really, this is the one I was worried about the most. But yeah, all these start and screw in perfect. Hey, and no oil from my seal repair. Let's hope everything keeps going as planned here. Of course, nothing ever goes right until you go to film it. Then everything works correctly. Maybe I'll be the one YouTuber that everything goes to plan. All right, so as you watch, I lined those bolts up, made sure everything started correctly, didn't cross thread. They went in pretty easy. Tightened them up the best I could by hand, kind of centered everything the best I can because those holes are off, they're egg shaped. I want to kind of try to get them close as I could to where they should be, and then just kind of suck them down with impact. I'm not going to bother torquing them at this point. I'm literally just driving it to get it on the trailer. So now we're going to go back and get the trailer, and we get as close as I can get to this spot so I don't have that mile walk back to get the truck. All right, well, got the trailer loaded. Got the truck down here about as close as we can get without disturbing these crops here. And we got about 600-yard walk. Get to the tractor, not too bad. So I'm gonna spare you the walk, and I was hoping to spare me the walk, but it's summertime in the south and it's HOT, buddy. Hot. So bring you back when I get to the tractor. All right. Three-legged dog ain't three-legged no more. Let's see if we can't get her cranked up. Get out of here. Beginnings of a bigger project, either replacing that rim or repairing it. I think I'd like to demonstrate how I would repair it, but to be realistic, I don't know that I would want a repaired rim on the front of a tractor like this with a loader and heavy load. I think you're just asking for trouble. I don't know that the rim itself would fail, but being able to keep constant torque on each one of those holes, even though they're going to be slightly uneven, I think it'd be better just to replace it. So I've reached out to Titan, who's the manufacturer of the wheel. Very nice people over there. Mahindra stopped. This is a 2017 tractor. Mahindra stopped ordering that particular rim for this machine about 5 years ago. Now Mahindra does have one in stock, $654, a little over $700 with tax. It's pretty spendy for one wheel, but I wouldn't expect anything less from one of these tractor companies. Titan no longer manufactures that rim, so I can't get one from them. The closest one that meets the spec is a John Deere rim. which I can paint, no problem, but the offset's about 1.5 inches different. So right now it looks like I'm kind of at the mercy of Mahindra. I either repair this one, which may be fine, but I think it would be more costly to find out. I think the cheaper insurance would be purchasing a new rim, going from there. We'll just have to keep an eye on this because there was some damage to the threads in the hub. I think they'll be okay, but we'll just have to keep an eye on these bolts, make sure they stay torqued for a little while until we can be certain that they're not going to cause a problem. So stay tuned to see how this airs out. There'll be much more interesting episodes in the future, I'm sure, but this was the start.